Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me. We're going to start by giving an update on what's going on at Baltimore Country Club, about our rackets department, from anything from tennis, pickleball, paddle to squash. A lot of people have emailed me with questions. We actually had over 40 questions that we're going to try to address today, which has been really excellent. Some people have asked if they could have their friends and other professionals join in as well. So if some of these questions have to do with things that are more about the industry and Baltimore Country Club's role in leading, just know that's why we're answering them. At any point, if anybody has any questions, just let me know and we will try to address them. But really what we want to focus on are two things. One, giving you an update on all the things that we're doing right now at Baltimore Country Club while we have this stay-at-home order. The other thing that we want to talk about is pickleball in general. What is it meant to BCC? What does it mean to country clubs in the industry? And we also want to talk about rackets and different ways that Baltimore Country Club is not only leading but helping professionals down the road. So, to just jump right in, some of the things that we've done since last year at the tennis courts are we've put in a new fence that most people probably weren't even aware of from courts 4 to 7. The fence on the far side was slightly leaning. We have a whole brand new fence that was just put in that looks excellent. We're putting in all new screens, wind screens that allow air to flow through a lot easier. Which is great, all with the BCC logo. Everything will be perfect. The courts, clay courts, have a lifespan of about 12 to 13 years. And what we've really done is after this season, we are going to have all of our courts regraded. And what this means is basically everything gets taken off the courts, and they're going to be almost brand new, basically rebuilding the courts, which will make us play even better than the courts play right now. There's been a lot of talk on when we're going to be able to open up our clay courts, and this has been, challenging to say the least. Before this started, we were scheduled to have our clay courts open on March 23rd, which is extremely early, and we were very excited to be able to do this. Since then, we get our clay from Virginia, and we have a court company, which is the third best in the country, based out of Pennsylvania, that delivers that gets our courts up and going. So what we've been working with are multiple states with stay-at-home orders, and how can we get clay from one state to be delivered, and how do we get a whole team from another state to be able to come down and be able to get our courts ready so that we can maintain them, so when the stay-at-home order is lifted, we're ready to jump right into all of our programming. 2 days ago, we were able to get our clay delivered, which was excellent, and I'm happy to report that starting today, the team is working on our clay courts, and hopefully those will be ready starting tomorrow, at which time we will be starting to maintain them. As I've said in a previous email, it takes about 3 weeks to get the courts playing perfect, and when you're looking at pickleball in general on clay, it always takes that whole month of April to really firm them up so that they're perfect and playing just like the tennis courts do. So this will really give us time to focus on that and get them perfect. Last year we used a metal bristle brush, which really chewed up the courts and made them play even better. And what this does is fungus or different things, plants, grass, anything that might start to grow within the clay, as you're brushing them, this really chews it up. And makes the clay smooth and perfect, much better balance. The Pro Shop has been stocked with more brands than ever before. We have brands from Sophie Bella, Fila, Lucky and Love, Leo Pouchet, tons of Wilson products now. As far as pickleball is concerned, we stock over 4 paddles, multiple paddles from 4 different brands, which has been really great. We are having a sale on essential oils. We're doing Theraguns. We're doing different balls that we're trying out. We're always going to have the balls that everybody loves, but we're also trying some different options that are supposed to play exactly the same. The goal really is to give members more options than they've ever had before. And recently, At a conference I did in January, we announced, it was at the CMAA Managers Conference in Texas, we announced a new court that's being released. It's called the Mopay court. It is a roll-up pickleball court, and it's what every club in the country is talking about. And what this is picture a hard pickleball court. And it's really exciting because what you can do is any flat surface you have, whether it's a tennis court, a ballroom, a parking lot. In many cases, clubs are going to be using this on their paddle courts. So clubs, think about in the Northeast, like Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, New York, Chicago, wherever. They don't have room to build pickleball courts. They don't even have clay courts, but they have a lot of paddle courts. So what this is it's a hard court that folds up. It's a foam that you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. It folds up and you can lay it flat. And not only did we announce it with the CEO of the Professional Tennis Registry, Dan Santorum, but we play tested it at a conference in Hilton Head, and we are going to be the first club in the world to have one, which is pretty exciting. We've sent out some emails since everybody's been at home of some things that we can do. We've have a pro shop sale, like I said, where we are shipping nets, paddles, balls. We even have badminton kits directly to your house. With the stay-at-home order, Wilson has allowed us to ship directly to everybody, which has been great. One of Wilson's factories just shut down, so nets might be temporarily unavailable, but we also have a great supplier that makes amazing paddles out of Annapolis that ships same day to our members. And why this is great is because next Tuesday, Colin Johns, who's our head pro, who, if you don't know, Colin, on top of being a tremendous pickleball player, he's number 3 in the world. He was a pro tennis player. He's amazing at paddle. His squash game is going through the roof. But he's going to be doing a Pickleball 101 next Tuesday for everybody, which really allows you to learn pickleball from home. So it's everything from where to hold the grip, contact point, weight transfer, everything that you could need to know to start pickleball. And even if you're a great player, or consider yourself a great player, it's definitely things that you can add to your game that'll really help. So everybody should definitely be on that. It's next Tuesday. An email will be sent out. There's rumors that his brother Ben Johns, who's number 1 in the world, will be on that as well. I'm sure everybody's heard of a Theragun. For those of you that have back pain, sore muscles, this is unbelievable, and we are basically selling it at whatever we buy it for. You can order one. We have 2 left, but we're going to be ordering more. Retail's $5.99. We're going to be selling it for $4.50, and you could pick those up right at the club. We have been filming online tip videos that are scheduled to go out. We have them coming from Wade, our director of squash, which some are excellent videos on things that you can do from home. Colin has done some great pickleball videos, and Alex Kiblin has done some videos for our juniors, whether it be ups and downs, really creative things that you can not only do with all juniors, but that you can really focus on for juniors that are ages 2 to 4, which is really helpful. Finally, I've been working with the USTA Professional Tennis Registry and United States Professional Tennis Association, along with Tennis Pro Search, pros like Patricio Maestrano and Mark Parsons up in Connecticut. And we've really worked on a COVID-19 safety precautions that has been sent out to everyone that's certified in the whole world, that we will be implementing and leading with at BCC when we reopen. This is really great because not only did we have our hands in creating it, this is something that when we reopen, we'll already be ahead of the curve, knowing what we can do, how we can keep our members safe, but really give them a place that they can come and play from day one. I want everybody to know that we are going to be ready, we're going to be safe, and the whole goal here is to be able to hit the ground running the day the ban is lifted. Matt, thanks for your question about some stuff that you can do at home with pickleball. I'll answer that in 1 second. I just want to touch on one thing. A lot of questions have come in about the rackets industry. A lot of people have friends that are tennis pros. and they've said now that they can't teach tennis, what could you do? When I started here almost 2 years ago, which it's amazing how quick time goes by, we really set a 3 to 5 year plan that implemented the need for rackets. It's not so much a need just to play tennis, but the biggest need is for rackets. The industry is really changing. There's about 17 million people in this country that play pickleball, and 17 million people in this country that play tennis. And tennis has been flat for well over a decade, which means there's not a tremendous amount of growth. And there's no really plan in sight from USTA to help that. Now, there's clubs, including ours, that have great tennis programs that are doing well. But in the absence of tennis thriving like it did in the 80s and 90s, you've really seen a rise in paddle, you've really seen a rise in squash, in sports like pickleball. And what we're really working on, and what our goal was, to get staff that could not only play everything well, that could also program and teach everything, and ultimately create a total rackets program that can connect the dots for everybody. The big thing with sports like pickleball is when you look at a yardstick is basically the amount of people that can play tennis. When you look at a football field, that is the amount of people that can play pickleball. It reaches so many more people. There's 99 million people in this country that are inactive, meaning they don't do any sports, they don't try anything. And that is the biggest range of people that are starting to play pickleball. The greatest thing with pickleball, though, as we found at Baltimore Country Club that has been so special, is players that are golf members that have never stepped foot on the tennis courts are starting to come and try it out. We've had squash players that have never come to tennis courts that are starting it out. And I say this all the time, is it doesn't matter if people are playing tennis, pickleball, squash, paddle. All that matters is they're using your facility, because the more we can get people out, talking to each other, having fun, getting excited, other sports can grow. And it was through the growth, a big part of it, other than our amazing staff that I can't say enough about, and the job that Colin did with paddle, and Alex has done with juniors, and Wade is doing with squash, is our paddle program is through the roof. Now, whether that's in part because of Colin, our amazing chairman, or the committee we have, it's also more people are playing because more people are getting educated about paddle through playing pickleball and being on court with our pros. And we've seen the same thing with tennis on the rise, with squash on the rise. So really the goal is to create a total rackets program. One of the questions we had, just to start going through the questions real quick, Sean just asked, I started a pickleball program in Upper Dublin Sports Center, and then the pandemic came, but I started a meetup platform called Pickleball Mania, so I'm excited to get back to you. So Sean, thank you for that. That wasn't a question, but I think that's awesome. And the biggest thing that we can do is create a platform and be ready for our members to come back. Pickleball is not only the most social sport, but it's something that we can all do together that's ultimately going to grow tennis throughout the country and throughout the world. Someone asked, is the noise of pickleball ever a problem? This is something that we've heard years ago that's really stopping now. It's not becoming so much noise as it used to be. I've seen things from paddles that are noise-canceling paddles, balls that are not supposed to bounce as much. As far as Baltimore Country Club is concerned, clay is never as loud as hardcourt because you don't have the double pop. With a recent study with the USAPA, which is the governing body of pickleball, in the last year, they've only really heard less than a handful of real complaints, because as pickleball grows, people understand what it sounds like. They're getting into it and they're getting excited about it. Something that we just did at Baltimore Country Club that is being installed now, on top of having noise-canceling walls behind each one of our courts, we are putting a noise-canceling screen that's going to block even more pickleball sound that we're going to be putting in the next week. Alex just asked, do you think that pickleball is going to replace tennis? No. I think that pickleball is going to become the #1 racket sport in the United States, which I mean is the amount of people that are playing within the next 10 years. It'll 100% be the #1 played racket sport in the United States. It won't ever surpass tennis as far as a bigger sport, meaning pros playing it, global reach. But I do think that pickleball will be what regrows tennis in the United States until we have a boom again of American players that are winning Grand Slams and sparking interest. But initially, out of those 17 million people that are playing tennis right now, 750,000 of them came from pickleball, which really shows you that pickleball is not hurting tennis, but it's really reigniting it and getting people excited again. Someone asked, how many courts do you need to start to build a successful pickleball program? I would say you need one court. You know, the best thing you can do is get people playing pickleball. I wouldn't go into a pickleball program saying we need 10 courts, we need 5 courts. You know, when I started at Baltimore Country Club, our goal was really to have pickleball. We knew that most of our members vacationed in Florida. Naples is the epicenter of pickleball in the country. So we were really thinking, how can we do this for our members? How can we get them excited about pickleball? So we just put pickleball lines on top of the tennis courts, on one of our tennis courts having 2 pickleball courts on the one tennis court. And then the year later we became the number one or the first club in the world to have dedicated clay pickleball courts. So we have 4 clay dedicated courts, which are awesome. When we host the U.S. Clay Court Nationals, we put in another 2 to 4 courts. You know, 2 courts is great, 4 courts even better. I would say start slow. The biggest thing is just that you start. Greg asked, have you had success running events like member guests, club championships that are all specific to pickleball? We've done member guests that have been great. This year, until the pandemic happened, we had plans to do a member guest every month. The biggest thing is in our U.S. Clay Court Nationals, it's really great because it allows all of our members to play in them. The first year we did it, we had, I believe, almost 40 members that did it. This year we moved the date back to September to grow that even more. The biggest thing with pickleball that we found is, don't over-program. The biggest thing we can do is get people playing. If you can get people on the court, get them excited, you're going to be able to do multiple things. Pickleball is not about making money. It's about getting people playing and utilizing your facility. And that's what's been so great about having Colin Johns on staff, having Alex Kiblin. The staff has to be just as invested. They have to love pickleball. They have to love tennis. They have to love paddle and love squash. If we're not invested as professionals, it's hard to say that our members are going to react to that. So, we've been really blessed with that. But yeah, I would say that, the biggest thing that's going to start coming in the coming years is going to be league pickleball. That's going to really grow. And I know that's already starting in Texas and other places, but it just depends how many clubs in your area are already doing it. And once that takes off, the sky's the limit. I think fully believe it's going to be an Olympic sport. It's going to be in all colleges. There's already college classes you can take. There's Pickleball 101 at multiple colleges. So it's pretty exciting times. Another question we just got is, what first drew you to try pickleball at the club level? For me, the biggest reason why I wanted to start pickleball was, we were having at my old club that we did, and why I thought it was at BCC important is, whenever you're most successful with something is when you really have to try to give more. Because, if you can't implement and innovate when you're successful, you're not going to be able to do that when you're not. And Baltimore Country Club is a truly special place. Not only is it a top 50 platinum club in the country, but we're blessed with grounds that are kept unlike anywhere else in the world. I can truly say I'm surrounded by staff that is absolutely incredible. But it's the ability to offer our members more. And as you see, especially when we come out of this COVID-19, if we're not offering people more, they're going to go somewhere where they can get that. And, the issue with country clubs in general, small clubs that didn't innovate are struggling. And the bigger clubs that continue to look to members to say, what can we do for you? How can we make your experience better? is really the future. And I'm so proud to be a part of a club that during this pandemic, you can see from the offerings we're doing, as far as takeout services, pantry services, drinks, videos. It's truly amazing. Alex just asked, should juniors play pickleball or just focus on tennis? There's a new program from the Professional Tennis Registry called Pick 10. And what it is you go from pickleball to tennis within a certain period of time. And something that we've been doing at Baltimore Country Club, Alex Kiblin, who is our head of junior program, does a great job. When you think about a 2 to 5 year old, juniors, they advance at very different levels. So you might have a 4-year-old that can't even swing a racket. You might have a 4-year-old that's great, and the same thing might happen all the way up until they get to a certain age. So what we found was, if you put a pickleball paddle in a junior's hand and you have them hit a red dot or an orange dot tennis ball on a pickleball court, it's amazing how quick they can rally. And kids really stay with sports for 2 reasons. Either one, they absolutely love it, or they absolutely love it and their friends do it, or 2, they're good at something, which basically means that they're going to love it anyways. So by giving them something that they can be successful with, they're starting to stay on the court and like it and enjoy it. And from there, I would say, it only takes a handful of times when you get the muscle memory of a swing with a pickleball paddle that you can put a tennis racket back in their hand, and they're going to continue to improve. Also, it gives a sport that families can do together. Parents and kids can rally and play pickleball together, which, at certain ages, this is something you can't do with tennis. Someone asked, does pickleball hurt my swings? Pickleball is just the opposite. Pickleball helps your swings. The biggest thing with connecting the dots is, if you're a tennis player, pickleball is going to help different parts of your game. If you're a tennis player, paddle is going to help different parts of your game. Paddle tennis and pickleball go together perfectly when you're thinking of a Total Racquets program. Now, when you think about squash, the eye-hand coordination that you have coming into pickleball really changes how quick you can improve. And what we found at Baltimore Country Club is that squash players that have never played pickleball are coming in, and though they're bangers and they're hitting the ball hard, they're having a great time and they can pick it up quickly. So if anything, if you're somebody that really focuses on tennis and you're like, pickleball is not my thing, you want to get better, pickleball will improve your tennis game 1,000%. Most of our issues with tennis is our strokes are too big, our elbows are too far out, we're reaching, we're losing our posture. Everything that I just said will be improved by pickleball. It'll shorten up your swing, it'll focus on your contact point, it'll better your feel. You're not going to over move, you're going to learn how to move more balanced, keeping your posture. So it's one of the best things that you can do for your game. Someone wrote and said, is it possible to install pickleball courts on clay courts? We already talked about that, but I would ask anyone to Google Baltimore Country Club, send me an email, I can send you pictures of our clay courts. But it's pretty amazing what we've done. A lot of questions came in on how you maintain your pickleball courts on clay. And the thing I always say is, on top of, we're always blessed at BCC because we have such an amazing grounds department, and all the departments are truly gifted at what they do. But if pickleball is not working on your clay courts, then tennis probably isn't working that great on your clay courts either, because you maintain the courts exactly the same way. Now, if pickleball is bouncing perfect on your clay, I can guarantee you tennis is bouncing perfect. So it's really one and the same. For those people that write me and say that, pickleball is not working on their clay courts, the question really goes back to how are they being maintained, what are you doing with them, and a lot of times it comes down to they're too dry, they're not hard enough. But people that think that they have to roll their courts well into August, they're doing something wrong. So it definitely works. Another question that came in, when marketing pickleball, do you look to men, women, older, younger? When you look at pickleball, it's a sport for the whole family. It's a sport, it's the ultimate unifier, and that's what's so great. Whether you're skinny or heavier or tall or short, man or woman, old or young, it's something that everybody can play together. You can have people that bang, that hit extremely hard. As you improve, you'll start improving your soft game and your feel will improve. But that's what makes pickleball so special, is that it's something that the whole family can do together. I can tell you we've shipped out more nets, paddles, and balls to our members than we have ever done before in the last week. And what's so special is, and what I think is so great about pickleball, is that all these families are now setting up courts, and I know because Colin has helped many of our members with measurements and doing things in their driveways. But pickleball brings the family together. It's something that, you can all do and have fun with. And parents can do it with their kids, parents can do it with each other. And when I suspect is, when this lifts and we all go back to tennis, it's going to keep going, and kids and parents are going to like it at the same time. The other thing that pickleball does too is when you think, you go out and you play a match of doubles, for example, you might be at the club an hour and a half, 2 hours. But as soon as that's over, most of the time people go home. And, we found at Baltimore Country Club is that, after you're done your tennis, a lot of our members are coming down to play pickleball. So now instead of us staying at the club for an hour and a half, 2 hours, we're able to stay there for 3 to 4 hours, which makes it really special. And a lot of the times it's something where parents can go from tennis and join their kids or join other people on the courts. Mrs. Royals just said, I know you said Colin is doing a pickleball clinic later this week. Are there videos that he and Ben recommend we watch that will help our game and basic understanding in the meantime? Colin just submitted an article that's going to go out next week for tennis, which really talks about the greatest thing that you can get at a tennis, or the greatest way to improve your tennis game is really by watching it on TV and picking different things that you guys can focus on when you're watching. For his article, it's going to focus on footwork, and it's great. In the meantime, pickleball, I think it's tenfold with that. The best way to improve with pickleball is watching it. And if anybody goes to YouTube, and the thing with pickleball is anybody that has YouTube thinks that they're a pro. But I would say pick your favorite player. In my case, it's Colin Johns. But, if you want to pick the greatest players in the world, the ones that are the best to watch would be the Ben Johns, Kyle Yates, Colin Johns, any of those guys. There's so many more that I could keep listing. But if you just go on YouTube, you enter their name, a lot of stuff's going to come up. And you'll really start to see, well, why aren't they banging the ball? Why are they going softer? Are they coming to the net? Are they hanging back? Pickleball's slow enough that you can pick up a lot of shots, and those are things that you can try at home as well. But there was for one example that I would watch is the last biggest tournament that happened was the Franklin Masters, where Colin Johns and Ben Johns were down 10-1 in the third set. And remember, the games are to 11, and they came back and won. And it was one of the most exciting games of pickleball I've ever seen. And it's definitely something that all of us should check out. What are the biggest adjustments for squash players getting into pickleball? Good question, Matt. Squash being a little bit different than tennis, paddle, and pickleball as far as movement. I could say our director of squash played his first pickleball match at last summer at the Clay Court Nationals. He played singles. And it was amazing. He played a guy from Maryland that's actually really good 5.0 pickleball player and brought him to 3. And this was all from eye-hand coordination, going out there and just picking up the game really quickly. The biggest thing is really learning the footwork, learning smaller steps, continuing to move forward, shortening swings. But I will say that the biggest thing, and we have a lot of squash players, and our goal at Baltimore Country Club is to continue to grow squash. It's such an amazing sport that we're really investing in, as everybody knows, in our master plan. But for squash players that are all about squash, and other racket sports might be difficult, pickleball is the ultimate way to lead into other racket sports. So I would say if you're a squash player and you're thinking about playing tennis, or you want to try paddle, which we've seen a lot of this, at BCC, which is so great. I would say pick up pickleball, because in just, I would say, 3 times of playing, you're going to be amazed at how quick you pick it up because of how great of eye-hand coordination that squash players have. But more importantly, you'll be amazed at how quick you can pick up other racket sports like paddle and tennis, which has been super. Couple more questions. Do you need a special type of ball to play on clay courts? There's many balls that are starting to work. We use a Onyx Pure 2 ball at Baltimore Country Club. I've said it before. I'll always say it. It bounces the best. It lasts the longest. And for those of you for our members that are playing at home and that need more balls, Onyx Pure 2 balls are now available on Amazon, which is amazing. You can buy anything from 1 ball to 100 balls, and they'll last you forever. These balls don't crack. Couple more questions just to get through them. What is the best first step to take if pickleball doesn't yet exist at my club and I want to develop it? Like I said, there's a lot of people joining us or that have written in with questions that are friends of members. The biggest thing, if your club doesn't do pickleball, I can tell you that they're going to be doing pickleball very soon. All clubs need it. We are in a day and age that you can no longer be a one-amenity racket sport club. Now, whether the professionals are dragging their feet or don't want to get into it, you as members are going to be the best way to start it. Pickleball works on clay. Pickleball works on hard, obviously. So there's really no excuse not to have it. The biggest excuses before were we don't have room to build. Our club doesn't have the money to invest in pickleball courts. But now when you can put it on top of clay and the average investment is $75 to $100 to lay the lines, it seems like a no-brainer. I think a lot of people are nervous to try stuff that they might not be an expert at yet as far as the professionals. I would say don't worry about being an expert, worry about being invested. People always follow what they're passionate about. And the biggest thing is, and I've said this, I've been lucky enough to speak at tons of conferences over the past year, is the age of tennis is over. And we're about to enter the golden age of rackets. And for those clubs and those professionals that are ready, the sky is the limit on what they can create. And what we've set ourselves up for at Baltimore Country Club is having a total rackets program that is going to give our members the best of every racket sport. Our master plan has so much in it that's going to give back to rackets and let us continue to be leaders. And as our amazing professionals like Colin and Alex and all the other ones that come in, we have summer staff that comes in from all over the country, as they get promoted and become directors of other clubs, we're ultimately going to change the industry. A question that just came in is, what steps should I take to become ready to introduce and teach people how to play pickleball? That's a great question. The biggest thing learning how to teach pickleball is you can't fake it. Pickleball, paddle, squash. Unfortunately, I think at a lot of places people have gotten away with faking it with tennis, but you can't really do it with these other sports because they're growing so fast and people are so dedicated to it. For pickleball, the greatest thing you can do is get certified. At Baltimore Country Club, I can say Colin and myself are one of only 9 national clinicians. We've certified over 200 people last summer alone, and we have multiple certifications this summer at Baltimore Country Club. I can tell you all of our professionals are going to be certified in everything. Our director of squash, who's already certified in paddle and tennis, is getting certified in pickleball. Our tennis staff is getting certified in squash. Certification does not mean that you're an expert. It means that you're understanding the foundation to become an expert. It allows you to see the path forward and gives you the tools that you need to really speed off and do things perfectly. So I don't want people to think that, I get certified, now I'm an expert, I can teach something perfectly. But with pickleball as an exception, with example the PTR certification, a pro can get certified And the tools that he learns or she learns and the drills that they learn right there, they can take back to their club and run a really successful, great event. That doesn't mean that they're going to learn things like Colin Johns does about 3-and-me's and dinks and drinks and other things that have become really popular. But it's going to be something that'll help you jumpstart it the right way and learn that it's not our goal in pickleball to get them out there and charge for a private lesson. Our goal with pickleball is to get 20 people, 24 people on 4 pickleball courts and have them have a great time and use that time to let them know all the other exciting things that we have going on, whether it's from tennis to paddle to squash. Whatever's going on, we can educate people and get them excited about it when they're having fun at their club playing pickleball or tennis or whatever it is. But the first step to any pro is getting certified. Finally, we have 2 more questions. How can I practice at home with just a paddle and a ball? A couple things that I want to say with this, which is so important with what you can do at home with pickleball. And it's the same with tennis, and it's the same with paddle. And we're even submitting videos with squash. But, tossing and catching, and Colin's going to go over this on Tuesday when he does his Pickleball 101. But tossing and catching with pickleball, you toss and you catch in front of you, is so important because pickleball is all about contact point. And if you can get the contact point in front of you, your game's going to explode. Your dinking is going to get better. Your drives are going to get better. With pickleball, we teach pickleball from the inside out. With tennis, you teach from the outside in, meaning you start at the baseline and then eventually you come into the net and you learn how to volley. Pickleball, the stroke that you have for your dinking is the same stroke that you're going to have from the baseline when you're dropping or when you're driving. Your volley is exactly the same, the contact points in front of you. So tossing back and forth where you're catching and extending is huge for pickleball. Another thing that you can do, my wife and I are doing it in our deck in the backyard, is volley, using that same contact point in front of you, volley, drop. There's things that you can do. So if you have a surface that doesn't bounce, you can do all these things without the ball bouncing. If you have a surface that bounces flat, you can have somebody standing there and somebody working on dropping and someone working on just pushing it back. But the thing I want people to think about is pickleball is great because you can do it in smaller places. So during this pandemic, which who would have thought this would happen, but during this time, we can use pickleball to really help our other racket sports, because I can promise everybody when they get back on the tennis court, if they shorten up their backswing on the volley and work on their contact point, their tennis is going to improve. If they work on keeping their elbow in and not reaching, because you can't reach with pickleball, the ball doesn't bounce high enough and the paddle's too short. If you focus on those things, your tennis game is going to improve from the baseline. So all these things, when you're thinking about tennis, or when you're thinking about pickleball, will cross over into tennis and paddle as well. These are all things that you could also do with paddle. And like I said, look for the squash videos that are being put out as well for some things that you can do at home. Guga's on from Chevy Chase. Funny story with Guga, which really isn't that funny. If anybody at BCC is looking at clubs to visit with truly spectacular staff with incredible leadership, Guga is the director of Racquets at Chevy Chase Club. And what we did together was we put together an education plan, which Guga and I were going to bring all of our staff together, all of our racket staff, and really exchange ideas, teach each other drills, help people find a path forward, really grow our clubs, grow Baltimore Country Club and Chevy Chase being 2 platinum clubs that are close, but really give our staff different tools and things that they could use to bring back home and give members an even better experience. So it was really special what we put together. It's unfortunate that it had to be put on hold because of the virus, but we're looking forward to doing it. And for other directors and managers that see this, this is where it matters with who you know, and this is where it matters with who you can reach out to and get advice, and more importantly, give advice. This is a time for leaders, and again, we're truly blessed to be at Baltimore Country Club, and there's a lot of great clubs from Congressional to Chevy Chase that are close, that, we continue to push to do things together that'll give our members more, not just for pickleball or tennis, but for all of rackets, for paddle as well. Couple more questions. Pickleball kits is a safe setup in my living room. Matt, if you buy one of they're not pickleball kits. We are selling everything individually just because, people need different things. A couple questions where, I don't have room for the pickleball net, which is 18, feet long. What could we do? So an option for your living room, you can buy a 10 and under tennis net that's 10 feet, or an 8 and under tennis net that's 10 feet and set that up. If a pickleball is, too loud for your apartment, just buy a soft junior tennis ball, which will go a long way. But listen, there's no better time to work on your tennis and paddle and squash games. But the way to do that is really through pickleball, and that's why we really put a lot of time in Colin doing this pickleball 101 video on Tuesday. We're offering virtual pickleball lessons right now, but the goal is not to do a virtual pickleball lesson per se. The goal is to get onto these free group classes that we're doing. Hopefully this is one of many that our members can really get a lot out of, and then learn something with Colin, learn something with me, and then take it back to your living room or your backyard or God knows where, your kitchen, and try it out and really improve. Couple more things. Let me just see if it's anything else before we're done, but I think that's it. One more thing that you can watch. I don't know who's certified that's watching this. If you're PPR certified, I also know that USPTA, the United States Professional Tennis Association, has made all of their videos free. If you want to watch, some of the speakers around the country, the professional tennis and professional pickleball registries have just put all their videos online, which are really great. Most are from the symposium, which just happened in February. If you can see those videos, and for our members that can't, I'm happy to give you my login credentials with my password so you can watch it. You can see, some of the best speakers in the world. I mean, everyone on there from, Judy Murray to, Robin Soderling, all these amazing tennis players, to, the best pickleball pros, Sarah Ansbury, and many others, where you can really learn like specific drills, what drills I can do at home, which drills I can do for multiple people. But just to end, the goal here at Baltimore Country Club is to really be ready for when this, when the pandemic lifts. And like I said when we started, is we were supposed to open up our clay courts on March 23rd, and we were battling. That's the week that everything broke out and we couldn't do it. Pennsylvania went on lockdown. Virginia has had different issues as well. So finally we were able to get clay delivered, and our courts are actually being set up today, and we're going to be maintaining them, and the goal is to get them perfect for when this lifts. We are going to be hitting the ground running with summer camps are starting as early as the day we open. We're going to be offering cardio pickleball, cardio tennis. We're going to be offering, anything you can imagine. We have multiple events. Judy Murray, which is the mother of Andrew Murray, on top of just being the mom of two great professional players, was also a Fed Cup coach and an amazing speaker and wildly famous. She was supposed to be visiting us, Baltimore Country Club. I don't know if that's going to happen right now based off of what's going on, but I hope to have her. We have our U.S. Open trip planned, but you can look for more innovative, more things than we've ever offered. If there's an idea that you haven't heard from us, let us know, because we're looking, and we're going to get it right, and we're excited. It's been a great winter season. We saw unprecedented numbers at paddle. We had 2 out of our 3 men's teams win the conference interclub championships. Our Division 1 team should have won as well. They got to the semis, but all 4 of our teams, men's and women, all made the playoffs. And, that's the first time ever. Squash is growing. So there's a lot of exciting things happening. And there's never been a better time to be a part of Baltimore Country Club. But I can promise you that our courts will be ready and open. And, the sky is the limit to what is going to happen. In the meantime, look for Colin's video next Tuesday. Look for the article that Colin and Alex are sending out. There's going to be nonstop stuff coming. If you want to order pickleball nets, actually the nets are now unable to ship, but if you're needing paddles or balls, we're shipping same day. Since Wilson shut down, we got an amazing pickleball distributor in Annapolis that's going to ship same day. But the biggest thing with any of our pros, whether it be Wade and squash, Alex, Colin, or myself in tennis right now, and pickleball and paddle, if you have a question, text us. It's never a bad time to reach out to us and say, what kind of drills can we do? Send us a picture of your grip. Is this the right grip? We want to help, and we have the time to do it. But the last thing I'll say is, what you do now when you have nothing to do, what you can work on at home with pickleball, I promise you, for those of us that if the interclub ladies season starts, and if it starts late, and for the men's interclub that's about to kick off in tennis, for the stuff that we're doing at home now through these pickleball drills, it will change how we start playing tennis when we get back on the courts. So you can look for the tennis courts to be finished this week. You can, if you drive past and you see us rolling and watering like crazy and brushing, we're getting them ready. And as soon as this is lifted, we will see all of you back on the courts. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to email me, reach out. But we're here, and I gotta say, we are truly blessed to be members, employees, and part of the Baltimore Country Club family. We are working under a tremendous general manager who believes and works tirelessly for our club, and I've never felt closer to members who truly love where they belong. All the best, everyone. Stay safe.